Taneshia Camillo-Sheffey has a passion for fashion, but
the retail industry doesn't really give access to a lot of emerging brands.
with a background in retail management, Camillo-Sheffey decided to do something to help emerging fashion designers.
I'm going to create a brand that will put the emerging designers on a platform where there normally isn't one.
So she launched Hot House Design Studio, Hot House University, and MadeINcubator.
I didn't want it to be a typical education program where they just go school and then you just try to put them out there. Along with providing them the education, we provide them with the manufacturing. We also provide them with resources to funding so that after the program, they're actually able to actually scale and actually have a viable business.
MadeINcubator's program picks up where design school drops off.
We took them to an actual manufacturing plant so they can see how the process actually works. Having that information for the designer really opens their mind up to like, oh wow, there's more to this than just like, submitting my sketches.
Fashion is big business, a nearly $330 billion industry. One Camillo-Sheffey believes is overlooked in Massachusetts.
We have so many industry people here. We have so many designers trying to make a viable business, and they end up leaving and going elsewhere when they should not have to leave Boston to create a fashion brand. It's very important for the businesses to be based here.
Hi, my name is Taneshia Camillo-Sheffey, and I'm founder and director of MadeINcubator, Inc. I am in the Hot House brand. So our mission is to change the fashion world through innovation by developing ecosystems that allow exceptional fashion entrepreneurs and businesses to create sustainable businesses better and faster.
Ooh, that was a flow. That was, wow. I like that. Oh my God. All right. So Taneshiya and I have known each other for quite some time. We met each other because I mentored her for a for a minute.
Yeah.
I mentioned you at the beginning when there was no story, there was no flow, there was no business. So, we have so much to talk about.
Oh, we have so much.
So much to talk about. And mind you, we have ample time, but we don't have enough time. So
exactly right.
We're gonna go right from the start. Where are you from? Tell me about you, because I want people to get an essence of who you are before we talk about the business. So where are you from? What is Taneshiya all about? And also let's just go from younger to let's go all the way up to college.
Okay, yeah. So I'm originally from Milton, Massachusetts, born and raised in Milton, the youngest of 4 girls. My household was very fun. I had all sisters. My mom was a single mom. She had gotten divorced from our father. So it was just all about like girl power and empowerment. So at a very young age, me and my sisters were, we were singers, we were dancers, we would act and model and in dance class. My mother literally put us in anything that was out there. She would be like, okay, you guys are going to do it. You guys are going to do it. And at the time, I didn't really realize how empowering that was for like us as young children to be put in those situations, because as getting older and growing up in the entertainment industry and just being songwriters and dealing with, record producers and really learning the business behind music. And my mom was also an entrepreneur as well. It just taught us so much about, how to really carry ourselves in a business setting, and then also not being afraid to talk and have communication and conversation. And so it was just really amazing. And so basically growing up in Milton, it's small town, it's not really much going on, but with us having the entertainment and all those things around us, it was very exciting for us all the time. And so I would pretty much say all the way up until I was about 15, we went through Berklee College of Music. All of my sisters, we were all accepted into Berklee College of Music, which is the first time ever that a whole family has been accepted in. And so it was a huge deal. And my sister won a 4-year scholarship. It was amazing. And so we went on to pursue our music career, and then obviously went to college and things like that. I actually went to college for paralegal studies at Northeastern. Yes, I thought I wanted to be a paralegal. I thought I wanted to be an attorney. And it pretty much turns out that I just didn't want to go into that field. I'm a lot more creative. And then especially with my entertainment background, and then entertainment and fashion going hand in hand, I've always had a passion for fashion, like anything fashion, retail, visual merchandising, retail management, which brings me to my background.
Wait, we're gonna stop. We're gonna stop.
Yeah,
right
yeah,
there.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So, all four of you guys went to Berkeley.
Yes.
Milton, Mass created four young ladies that all ended up working or going to Berkeley.
Yes.
Singing instruments as well.
Singing and musical theory.
Okay.
So yeah.
Musical theory. What is when someone says musical theory? What is
like
that?
Yeah. So it's more like reading music and things like that, and actually playing the instrument, because my sister knew how to play the piano, but we weren't really excellent at that. So we went more for like the singing techniques and musical theory and reading music and being able to do those type of things, composing and things like that. Okay, so how did you, all right, so one, I mean, I'm assuming your mom was a singer as well? Yes. Mm-hmm. Okay, so all of you guys are singers. When you walk into Berkeley, are you singing as a quartet, or what is happening? So we were a group. We were one group at the time. Our name was Fortress. There were four of us. Our name was Fortress. Yes. And we were powerhouse. Like, I don't know if you or anyone watching knows about In Vogue. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That literally was our style. We would do a lot of a cappella, a lot of harmonies in we had very big voices. Mm-hmm. And so when we auditioned, though, they wouldn't allow us to audition as a group. We had to audition separately. And so that's when it became nerve-wracking, because it was like, oh boy, we're not used to singing separately. We're used to singing together. So it was very nerve-wracking, but we all made it in. Yeah, we all made it in, and it was like life-changing. It was amazing. So the thing is, like, so you went to Berkeley for, all right, so undergrad, all of you guys went for undergrad. Mm-hmm. Different, what are the age groups, and where do you fall into the four? So I'm the youngest. And then I have a sister that's 2 years apart from me. Her name is Tiffany. Mm-hmm. And then between Tiffany and Shalay are 4 years. Yep. And then Shalay and Zakia, which is our older sister, they're 2 years. So we're all yeah. So when you got into Berkeley, so you guys went to Berkeley, obviously different times. In my mind, like, time. Wait, what? Say that. Yeah, so it was called System 5 program. They don't do it anymore. But back then, in the time where we went, they were allowing kids that were different age groups to go and be a part of the Berkeley programming that they were doing. And I wish they still were continuing to do it now, because it was genius. So literally there were people that were my age, and there were people that were in their 30s and 40s in this program. So it was amazing. It was an amazing, amazing program. And what was the goal of the program? So pretty much the goal was to really be able to hone in on your natural talent and to be able to teach you more. So to go through a whole curriculum of, like, we had classes every day, long classes. We had rehearsals. We would rehearse with bands. We had performances throughout the whole. So it literally was the experience of creating your whole entire brand, not really focusing on the business of it, but more the technique of singing, reading music. And then at the end of the program, they only choose 2 people that would win a 4-year scholarship. And my sister was one of those people. That's amazing. Oh my God. There were children from all over the world that literally came to this program. Yeah. What an experience. Oh my God. Do you keep in touch with all the other kids from the other programs? We don't. It's been so long. Our pictures were up though for a long time, like throughout the Berklee College of Music, like the actual college. And then Bob the Chefs, it was a restaurant that was like close to there. They would like feature us, and they had our pictures up in the restaurant and things like that. But we didn't keep in contact with a lot of the students. You know what? No, there is one. There's one. You know what? I just thought about this. There's one out of all the ones that we met from all over the world. There is one student that we still keep in contact with. And he's actually just been, I think he just started with the group After 7, because they added a new member. So he moved to California, and now he's in the group After 7, which is a group from like the 80s and 90s. But yeah, we still keep in contact with him. So I have to sit there and say that would have been a really cool thing if Berkeley could bring all of you guys back together, because that would be interesting to see what everyone is doing from that. Yeah. Because the thing is, the learning from that moment, like those the teachings, the professors that used to be there, the way that you actually absorb that when you're younger, and what did you use all those techniques in with whatever you're doing right now, will be amazing to see. Oh yeah, absolutely. And so for us, music has always been the heart of our life.
Mm.
And so we actually had moved to Atlanta, Georgia, because the industry was there. You
Yeah.
know, there's really no industry in Boston, and
Mm.
we kept hearing that from everyone that we would work with that were like in LA and New York, and they're like, you need to come here. Like Boston is not the place to be. And so after a while of hearing that, my mom was like, you know what, let's go to Atlanta, because we were going back and forth to Atlanta. Our entertainment attorney lived there,
Yep.
and we constantly have meetings with producers, and there were just so many people, and there was just so much access there, where we were like, okay, we might need to move here. And so we actually ended up moving to Atlanta, Georgia. And that's when we really started working with a lot of big artists and
Mm.
opening up for a lot of big artists. And it was really, really, really taking off. But while we were living there, my mom actually found out she had breast cancer. So it was like an amazing time. But then it was like, okay, we were hit with this like devastation at the same time.
Mhm.
And so it really just changed the dynamic of kind of like how we would work and do things after
Yeah.
that. So yeah, things kind of changed after she got sick. So
So
yeah.
what happens there? So like you're in Atlanta, obviously you're back here in
Mhm.
Massachusetts.
Yeah.
And so how does that mean, like how many people, I mean, of the family, how many of you guys are back here in Massachusetts? Why did you come back to Massachusetts?
Yeah.
And then why did you decide to go to Northeastern?
Yes. So we decided to come back to Massachusetts because we were doing too much traveling between Atlanta and Boston because my mom's doctors were all here. They were all
Mhm.
identified her because she had cancer. And so it became very stressful. We were paying for 2 houses, one in Atlanta, one in Boston. And it was just like, it just became way too much. And so we pretty much said, okay, we're just going to move back here for a little while. We literally
Mhm.
packed one duffel bag and we're like, we're going to come back for a little while just until, she gets her, her chemo and things like that. And then we're going to go back. But we ended up staying here because my mom ultimately ended up passing away in 2011 from breast cancer. So that's what literally brought us back. I definitely wouldn't have been back in Massachusetts if it wasn't for my mom getting sick and then bringing us back here. We would have still been in Atlanta. Yeah. So
Is that all? So all of you guys are back here in Massachusetts right now, and I'm really sorry about
all
your
of us.
mom.
Mm-hmm. Yep, we're all back. Yeah.
So then you go and decide to go to Northeastern. What is in Northeastern? Why Northeastern? And why no? Like, what happened to the singing career?
Yeah. So the singing career, it was still there, but it wasn't as much of a focus. My mother was very, very business driven, and with her being an entrepreneur and knowing the struggles behind it, she was like, you guys really need to know contracts, you need to know the business, and you really need to get in the mindset of, okay, what does this mean? What does this contract mean? Being able to read it yourself, all of those things. And so she was very, very focused on that. And so that was a big part of the reason why I went to paralegal school, because I really wanted to know how to read contracts and how to do these things, because a lot of times in meetings with attorneys and producers and just going through that like constantly, it was kind of confusing for us to understand and kind of keep up with. And so because there's a lot going on and you're still young as well, but she wanted us to really know the business behind what we were doing. And so that was like a big push of why we went to paralegal school. And then I did have an interest in law as well. I thought I did. And then, and I actually did work for a law firm and things like that afterwards, but it just wasn't a passion for me. It wasn't something that I was excited about or happy with. In fashion, it was definitely something, apart from singing, was literally a passion of mine that I would dream about and think about all day long. So
walk me through you're at Northeastern, you're taking law classes, you're trying to learn this, and then you decide, so then where did the fashion come from? Like, the thing is, as a singer, I mean, as a performer, I should say, as a performer, the style and you're taught by your mom. So I mean, your sisters are there, so it's already there. So it's already instilled in you. But going into the fashion world is different. So you see a lot of different celebrities that they get their perfumes, they get their fashion lines, but they bring in a team of individuals that teach them or do it for them, and they just throw on their name. So how did you change over from that?
Oh yeah. So I literally I literally jumped into it. I don't really, the type of person that I am, I'm not fearless of things. And so for me, it's like, okay, I'm just gonna jump in this, and like, if it works out, it works out. If it doesn't, it doesn't. So for me, it was such a passion where it wasn't even a second thought. Like, so literally once I left the law firm, I was like, I'm gonna go into retail. I'm just gonna start at retail because there's not really much that I know other than like, I know how to style, I know how to present myself, I know how to do these things, but I don't really know anything else about like the fashion industry per se. And so I just started off doing retail, and I quickly moved up into like retail management and visual merchandising roles, which is really what I wanted to do. And I wanted to learn the aspect of like, how do you design like a window? What goes into doing that? What goes into running an actual store? What goes into the business of fashion? Those things I really wanted to know. Anything that I get into, I want to know the business of it. It's not so much obviously the creative side of it is amazing and it's fun, but I always want to know how it works. Like, how do I make money? How does it scale? How does it work? And so
I hear your mom when you say that, like, I go, because like she started you from the beginning. And so I'm like, I hear your mom sitting there and saying like, hey, you need to know how you're going into this. You need to understand all of it.
Yes, that's literally how I go into everything. And so for me, it was always a strategy. Like, I wasn't just like, okay, I'm going to work retail and just be here and, put some clothes on a rolling rack and that's going to be it. No, I always had a strategy. So as soon as I got into retail, my strategy was to learn the business, to learn how to run a store, to learn how to, do my own design windows and all that stuff so that I can work for myself and build my own brand. That was always my plan, always. And so I literally started, I think my first retail position was at H&M. Yeah, at H&M. And they quickly moved me up into like retail management role. Because I was like fearless and I was just in there and I was so good at what I did. They were just like, oh my God, where'd you come from? Okay, let's do this, let's do that. And so, quickly started working for other luxury brands like LVMH and Neiman Marcus and things like that as department managers, and had really big roles, and would just continue to learn and be a student in the fashion business world and really learn so much to be able to use that for my business now. So much.
So let's talk about the business, because when we first met, you were thinking about doing this. And I remember one of the biggest obstacles, you were just like, you were thinking about it. You just had a baby. You just had a baby. I remember we did a Skype call because Zoom Zoom didn't exist. So we did a Skype call and with your husband, and your husband's like, all right, this is what she's doing. I go, Jodi's tough. I go, Jodi will be all over it. And I remember you were so frustrated because, like, I go, she's just so mean. I'm like, I go, not mean. I care. I'm on you because you need to stay focused. Because you were like, I want to do this. I want to do that. You were your thoughts were everywhere, and I'm like, focus.
Yes.
Literally, like we were like cracking up about how many years it's been since we haven't seen each other. So all these years. Oh, and one of the biggest things we talked about was everyone. Your frustration was everyone was saying, boss, if you want to do fashion, just like if you want to do music. You can't be in Boston. Can't be in Boston. Can't be in Boston. You're like, no. I mean, look, you were like 100% absolutely no, because there are a lot of individuals that want to do fashion here, and yet why do they have to leave? Why do they have to leave their home? So with all that being said, like you have that hard ass mentor, you have the husband supporting you, you just had a baby, and you're having everyone telling you it can't be done. So tell me what happened?
Yeah. So I typically like to prove naysayers wrong. And so it is very challenging though. So I started the first fashion incubator in Boston. And so for me, it was very challenging to get people to see the value in developing fashion businesses. I just don't feel like it's been a focus for the city. I don't feel like it was a focus for anyone really. There's fashion schools here. There are people that own boutiques. There are designers here, but it's never been a focus on really building up a small business that is in fashion. And so after kind of like having so many conversations and all these things, I kind of was like, you know what? I'm just going to just go with what I know and go with what I love and just continue going until someone is able to see the value in it. And that's exactly what I did. And so I knew that I wanted my my organization to be a nonprofit. So we are now we are a 501c3 completely. It took 3 years. It took a long time. And I almost gave up, but yes, it took a long time. But for me, it's really the passion that drives me. And I don't really pay attention to people that say no, because I feel like, maybe they're thinking about something that they tried to accomplish and they couldn't do it or whatever that is. So for me, I just really push forward and just go full steam ahead. And so we literally have been able to accomplish so much within the short time that we've been nonprofit and that we've been organizing events and workshops and constant counseling and all of these things. We've been doing so much. And, since COVID, obviously we've had to pivot a lot because we were doing all in-person things and working with designers in person. And then COVID hit and it was like, okay, what is Zoom? Okay, how do we do this? And like, how do we get the structure of like all of my educators and how is that going to work with their scheduling? And now it's because there were so many personal things that were happening with people at the same time as well. So, board members and educators and everyone's going through their own personal thing because of COVID. And you're having to really be in this world where it's like, oh my God, like this is new. How do I deal with this? How do I work with this? And so we've really been able to excel and really been able to pivot in a lot of different ways and provide even more access and possibilities for our small businesses. So I'm just so excited. I'm so excited.
All right. So it's great because you just like went right into it by talking about the pandemic. So you're running a business. You've been working on this for quite some time.
Yes.
You finally gotten to the point where there's visibility because again, we love LinkedIn. I don't care what people say about social media and on Facebook. I go, I'm a marketing person. I'm on all of them, but I love watching people. I love watching people grow. And I love when I can see, like, I go, good. Just because I don't like it doesn't mean I don't see it. So I always tell people, do not focus on likes or tags or shares. Focus on the fact that when someone sees you face to face, they're like, I love what you're doing. Because I always call people out. I go, what do you love that I'm doing? And they can verbatim say what I'm doing. And I'm like, okay, that's all I need. Or they make recommendations. So for you, I've been watching how you've been growing all along.
Oh,
but of course I do. My friend, come on. You know, if you were in my world, I'm watching you. I'm watching. So like I go, it is like that scary moment. Like I go, she sees me. I go, I'm still in your ear and she sees me. I may not have to, you don't have to see me face to face, but I'm like, I go,
right. Yeah.
Let it be known. Let it be known.
Yes.
But during the pandemic, so the pandemic starts March 2020. You are like moving and shaking. You're doing your thing. You busted your butt. You're like, everything is aligned. Everyone's even excited about it for the brand new decade. And all of a sudden, now we have a pandemic. The buzz starts happening in Europe. I go, then it starts happening here. Everything is shut down. You're learning all these new things, but how did you take care of you? Because you have a family, you have a husband, you have kids, you have a business, you have a team. So how was that during this entire time? So how was it when first started hearing about it? All the different things that you had to add, change, and maybe remove and add to your company.
Oh God.
And where are you now? Because now we're like 19-ish months later. Where are you now? Where were you then to compare to where you are now?
Yeah. So then, then we were doing in person and things like that. And then, the balance between business and family and the juggling it's always a juggle. Like I still haven't gotten that down. And I'm someone who's very transparent. Like I can't do anything but tell the truth. Like I just, like, for me, it's been always a challenge because when you run your own business, it's not like you have this big corporation behind you and you have all these, even though people literally, they think that I do, they think that I have like this huge team. And like, I'm like, oh no, we're still a small business. We're still, small, compared to a lot of other businesses. And, it's a challenge because you're having to stay on top of everything. And so pretty much, then, it was like, okay, oh boy, what is going to happen? COVID's coming. What are the plans on what we're going to do? And then also I had a whole baby during COVID. I had it actually. Yeah. Oh yeah. My baby. He's 14 months.
How many kids do you have now?
3.
Yeah. Okay. There you go. Hi. Okay. You had a baby on top of that.
Boy.
Okay.
I know, Jodi. Oh yeah. I had a baby during COVID. So put that on top of, the stress of business and how that's affecting, mental and financially, and then having a baby as well. So it's like something where I really had to, and I think we've had conversations about this a long time ago, but I typically used to overwork myself a lot. like I would have my hands in like 10 different pots. And that's just how I am just as a person, like even without business, just like as a family and just things that I'm doing, like I'm always like that. I'm a Gemini. So like, but I always have to keep moving. But during COVID and when that hit and the changes that we had to make because of the business, and then having a baby and all of these things and taking care of my mental, I had to take a step back from a lot of things that, and you know, a lot of people were reaching out and saying, oh, we want to partner, we want to do this event, we want to do that. And I had to say no to certain opportunities because it was like, I don't want to overwhelm myself, and I'm not going to overwhelm myself during this time. And so it really made me put things into perspective a lot more. And then that just trickled into my business, like really putting things into perspective. What do I want to focus on? Not focusing on these 10 different things. Let's narrow this down to 2. Let's narrow this down to 3. Like really, what do we want to focus on for this year? What do we want to accomplish? And working at my pace, you know, not working at someone else's pace because I don't have to. Like, honestly, it's my business. So it's not like I have to work at anyone else's pace. And so once I realized that and I said, okay, the power is in your hands. Like, what are you rushing for? There's no rush. Like, it's in your hands. And so I really was able to take a step back and like, wow, like reassess what I was doing before and like now doing things completely different. And so now we have come up with so many new programming and so many new ideas and partnerships and things that we want to do in the future and that we've already implemented now that we're going to continue to do. And even with our mission and things of how we do things and what we do is just like completely different from before COVID. It's completely different. And so I actually think that COVID, it was a horrible, horrible thing. It was terrible in a lot of different ways, but I do feel like for me personally, it was a blessing in disguise in a lot of ways. And it really made me reassess and reevaluate how I was running myself and my business. Definitely.
I think that's one of the things that people are, because it was such a horrific situation, but at the same time, it was a moment of pause. And I think that's because of that, people are so guilty about saying, I had a great time. I mean, a great time, great year. And I tell people all the time, I go, I cannot sit there and say that I'm upset or sad. I mean, the time globally was absolutely insane. It was absolutely insane that the entire world was shut down. Something that's so epic that we don't think that we'll ever see. Hopefully, knock on wood, that we won't see it again like this. Exactly. But I mean, but I'm like you, where it was a very good year for me. It was very good the past 2 years for me because one, this podcast would have never happened. I was asked before to do a podcast. I don't even recall. I'm going again, shout out to Colette Greenstein. She's like, you should do a podcast. I go, I don't have time. And I literally, because in my mind, I've already done the media. I wasn't going to go back to the world of the media. And literally it was like, I lost my business. I didn't lose my business, but I didn't have clients anymore because I travel. 70% of the time I'm overseas. Couldn't travel. So I'm like, okay, so this is where I am. Let me just check in with everyone. So the check-in became, oh, look, this person's on the news, or this person's in the newspaper, or this person just ran past my social media. Let me see if they want to come and talk to me too. So same thing, like these opportunities came up out of a crisis. And we all know as small business owners, as entrepreneurs, we never, ever, ever give up a good opportunity through a crisis. Never, ever do that. No. So for me, I saw the blessing, and I know that people always feel so guilty. And I'm like, you can't feel guilty because, again, you were healthy, your family was healthy, everyone was safe. So you had to sit there and not feel like, oh my God, everyone's good, so I'm going to say nothing. You use the time well. You used your time well. Yes. So one, how was it? Like hospital. What month?
Oh my God.
What month was
terrifying. It? July of last year. Yeah, it was
in the middle, like right in the.
Oh yeah, like the whole time I was pregnant, I was like paranoid. I was scared. I didn't want to go to stores. Like literally, my husband would be like, "Okay, just sit at home. I'm gonna go grocery shopping. Like I don't want you guys to leave the house." It was insane. It was crazy. Yeah. And then it was just like, like you didn't want to touch anything. You didn't want. It was very paranoid.
But you had to go to the hospital where everyone avoided.
Oh yeah, yes. So being in the hospital, and so I will. So
were you there by yourself? Because were they bringing?
No. So I actually was able to be there. My husband was able to be there with me. Thank God. Oh my God. Thank God. There were a lot of situations where, so if I would have given birth like 2 months prior, my doctor was like, he wouldn't have been able to be there. But because it was in July, she was like, it was fine.
Yeah.
But I went through a very traumatic birth experience, even having my son.
Yeah.
I almost died, literally. Literally, I was hemorrhaging uncontrollably and they couldn't stop my bleeding. I flatlined, they had to resuscitate. It was terrifying. And so being in COVID, being, this way, being pregnant and scared and all these things, and then going to the hospital and experiencing that, it was like, okay, what is happening? And so that definitely was something where it's like, oh my God, another hurdle to kind of overcome. Was like, okay, dealing with something like this and knowing the severity of like what could have happened and coming out of something like that, and still having to see doctors every few weeks and not being able to hold your baby for 6 months after, because I literally can't pick up anything or do anything. It was just very devastating and traumatic. And so I would definitely say that it has been a whirlwind of okay, creating opportunity here, but then, how are you taking care of yourself as well? Like you said, like, how are you really taking care of yourself? Like, are you doing the right things? And before, no, I definitely wasn't. But after the baby and after what's happened, it's forced me to do a lot of things that I had never done before, like the meditation and the stepping back, the mindfulness, all the things that you take for granted before certain things happen to you in life. And I've been through devastating times. Like my mom passed from breast cancer, like pretty much in my arms. And so, and just seeing her struggle and the devastating time that she went through, even having cancer, it was definitely traumatic. So for me, it was like, something happens with me where I go into survival mode and I don't even really think about or realize what's happening because I'm just trying to survive. And so I stopped doing that. And actually living in the moment and say, okay, you need to deal with this because this can come up in other ways in your life that you don't even realize. And so there's just been so many things in that sense where literally my nurses and doctors still tell me, like, you need to write a book about what you went through, because
everyone has a book in them. I say that all the time. Everybody has a book in them.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yes. Like they were like, you literally need to write a book about what happened. Because I had never been through anything like that. Like my pregnancies before the baby were very normal, like deliveries, everything, never any complications, anything. But it just happens. And then you constantly think, okay, why is this happening to me? Why? And then you got to kind of get yourself out of that thinking, like, don't think about why. Think about you being a survivor. Think about you being here. You're alive. You're alive through COVID. You're alive through having a birth experience that you could have died. And, so it's just like, you think about those things and reflect. And like I said, all those things trickle into my business and how I work and what I do, what projects I take on, just everything. It just trickles down into it. And so it's pretty incredible.
Well, no, I'm going to ask that the most important question, because business, pandemic, newborn, 2 little ones, major complication of a pregnancy, a delivery, I should say. Did you marry well?
You are hilarious. I absolutely did. Okay. When I tell you, oh my God, when I tell you my husband, like I always say, and I've said this from the beginning, like with any interview I've ever done, the support of him, I would not have been able to run my business as efficiently as I do. I would not be able to be as sane as I do without my husband. He is literally everything. Like when I tell you, he spoon fed me. He would rub my feet, rub my back. He literally was my caretaker during this whole time, and the children. Like I couldn't pick up my baby. I couldn't do anything. And so he had to literally do everything. He had to be the mom. Like he had to be everything, cook, clean, everything. And so,
and work.
Yeah, oh my God, my husband's, amazing.
So that, and I say that, and I say it half jokingly because during the pandemic, people that were like, I shouldn't, is the pandemic extended? Divorce rates are high. People married and they were so excited, but the world has been your buffer. Oh, I'm going to the gym. I'm going out with friends. The world was the buffer. So now when you're together and when major things happen and you're in a pandemic, how do you guys work together? And that's when you know it's now forever.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Well, me and my husband, we've been inseparable. We've been together for 20 years. So like literally.
And you're a baby. You're a baby.
Yeah,
and you're like, it's 20 years.
Yeah, like literally we've grown up together. So like we have been together for so long where it's like we just have always been inseparable in that way. So being home, like we love being around and being with, we actually like each other. A lot of people that are married don't even like each other. So we actually like, we always say that we're like, I actually like you. Like I like, I love you, but I like you. And so it's just like, you know, and that's too, you know, so yeah, we loved being home and the kids being home and him being home. Like we loved that. I loved that. Like that was amazing. Yeah.
I always laugh because people always ask me, like, I go, how are you with them being home during the pandemic? I go, I'm a Haitian kid. We weren't allowed to go out. We weren't allowed to leave the house anyway. So this time was designed for any Caribbean kid, any international kid that we were like, you were not allowed to leave the house. So this was good. I was fine. I was like, I go, this is like my entire childhood coming back to me. It's good.
Really? Oh my God. Why? Your parents were overprotective.
Oh, super strict parents. You come to America, you have no idea what's going on here. Super crazy strict. And so when your friends are like, hey, you want to go trick-or-treating? And my dad's like, we didn't come to this country for you to beg for candy. I'm like, it's a Halloween. It's Halloween. They're like, we'll buy you candy.
Funny.
We'll buy you. Like, it's not the same. Oh yeah, no. Yeah, I was in that house. But it wasn't just me. So all our relatives, we were all like available because we're like, we're good. We're good.
Right. Yeah. That is so funny. That is so funny. Oh my God.
Where do you see, who is your ideal clientele? Like I go in regards of like, who are the people that you want to engage with the most with your business? And also, where is the industry going now? Because right now people are like at home, people are at Zoom, people don't want to dress up, but there are people that are buying things, but you're buying it for like the closet. The closet's getting more play of your clothes than anything else. Yeah. But little by little, events are starting to happen again. So where is your company going in regards of what you're doing and what you're providing and to whom? And where is the industry going? Because we went from casual Fridays to now it's like,
oh yeah, it's all casual. Like
it's all casual. I mean,
party at the top, the bottom is no.
and the thing is, like, so my dad was a tailor, so I know how to sew. I appreciate fashion in the biggest way ever. I can do it with no problem, but I can sit there and relax at the same time, no problem. I appreciate a good tie. I look at to see how a tie is made. I see it. I appreciate, because I was raised in a household where my dad made my mom's clothes because like he could. So in your opinion, again, who's your clientele? Who do you want to focus on? Who are the people that are getting the most from you and what you're providing? And where did the industry go from now? Because the industry has changed dramatically.
It has changed so much. Oh my God. So our core, the core people that we serve are really community and small businesses. And I say small businesses and not just fashion businesses because we have been able to really spread our wings in a way where we've been able to provide so much access and resources to just regular small businesses, along with fashion businesses. So the entrepreneurs, small businesses, and corporations and organizations have really looked to us to really help provide just different ways of pipeline. So we recently worked with Nike. They started a, it's a fashion, oh my God, why am I not finding the word? It's like a fashion program that they're starting. And so they came to us to ask if we can pull together some designers to be able to seek, some really good candidates for them. And so we were like, oh yeah, absolutely. So we pulled it together within days. We had over 200 participants join the call, join a little Zoom call and talk about what they were doing. And there's a lot of organizations that really need support in a lot of different ways. But now during COVID, they realized there's a lot of things that they're missing. And I feel like a lot of organizations don't really have a local outreach team. They're looking for ways on creating impact locally, but they're not really doing that and partnering with local small businesses that can help them create, provide that outreach. And so we provide curriculum for a lot of organizations and things like that. So there's been so many ways that we've been able to really help support other organizations and things like that, besides just entrepreneurs and small businesses.
Mhm.
And then, the industry is definitely changing a lot. So there are people that are creating fashion businesses like that. So, it's a very new way of doing things. People are creating Instagram businesses that are making millions of dollars.
Mhm.
They're not needing these, big retail stores anymore.
Yeah.
I feel like now, though, a lot of the people, especially in the industry, they're focusing on sustainability. And that's something that we really focus on in
Mhm.
our incubator as well, is sustainability and how you can really, run your business more sustainable. So whether that being, using less paper, whether that being,
Mhm.
creating your collections to not have seasons, to really be a more timeless collection that can be, just something that's more longevity,
Yep.
what fabrics are you using? What manufacturing companies are you using? So there's so many ways to be sustainable. And I feel like a lot of, entrepreneurs and small businesses are really focusing on that sustainability in the industry. They're really going into that route. And so even with a lot of the designers and small businesses that we work with now, we really coach them and teach them on the sustainability part of
Mhm.
the industry. And I just feel like fashion is always evolving. It's always changing. It's always growing in so many different ways. And it goes into so many different industries.
Mhm.
Like in entertainment and, in music and, theater and business and corporate. It's just all over the place. And there's just so many ways to create that value. And for me, it's just really important to be that ladder of success for other young leaders that are coming behind me, especially people that look like me. So,
Mhm.
you know, being a minority woman in business, there's been a lot of challenges that I faced. And I have known, I knew how to overcome those challenges, but the people that are coming behind me might not know how. So
Yeah.
if I'm in the position where I can help someone get there better and faster, that's what I want to do. And that's what I'm going to do. And so a big mission of us is to really, of ours as the incubator program, is really to cater to the minority businesses that are really out there, that are, in underrepresented areas, that are
Yeah.
really trying to gain access and exposure and just education, funding, all of these things on how to really build their business. And we're expanding as well into other states.
Well, I was going to say, all right, so we're definitely going to touch base on that one, but I just want to go
Yeah.
back into the underrepresented women. So I always challenge people, because I was a former teacher of second graders and sixth graders. And I was in the Brockton school system and the Sharon school system. In the Sharon school system, which are two dramatically
Different.
different in regards to like the individuals. And so when I was raised in Brockton, it wasn't as diverse as, it wasn't diverse at all when we were there. We knew literally the 10 to 15 like minority families that were there. And other than that, it was not at all.
Right.
Any class photos, you knew where the Charles girls were.
Yeah.
So I always say to people, I go, there's so many people focusing and so many companies focusing on diverse communities or underrepresented communities, but they're underrepresented individuals in predominant areas.
Yeah.
Why are they left out in the conversation? And I think that's one of the things where in the fashion world, you have a lot of individuals that want to do so much and they want to gain access, but yet they are in a nice area. And, they're in a nice area.
Right.
Milton, Mass is a predominantly white community.
Yes,
and so you were there, but you had a rock star mom that got you guys really a lot of access, and you had a lot of people helping you. So how does someone that's in a predominantly area versus an underrepresented area shine? They have the talent, but they have a talent. They're a minority. But how are they able to shine? Because you were able to shine. So that's one of the things that I wanted to talk about. But also women, women overall.
Oh my goodness.
Now during the pandemic, yes, all the women, minorities, Blacks, Latinos, international, like everyone is getting play right now.
Yeah. Right now.
You watch the commercials on TV and everyone's getting every commercial, not even every other commercial, every commercial. So how do you actually take what's happening right now and make it grow forever?
Yeah. So
for all.
For all. No, absolutely. So our organization has always been for all. Me being a Black woman, when I say unrepresented areas, so for me, it's the area and it's unrepresented. So I speak for self and I speak for other areas as well. And so for me, it's never been something that's been, it hasn't been a mission for us to support minority businesses, because that's always been who we are, because that's who I am.
Yep.
And so for me, it's like, yes, we are an organization for all, but I know for a fact that being a woman in business and a minority in business is much harder. And so for me, it doesn't matter if you're coming from Roxbury, it doesn't matter if you're coming from Milton, if you're coming from Newton, it doesn't matter where you're coming from. If you need the support and help of us and guidance, we're going to give that to you. And it's for everyone. And so, and that's a big part of like who I am and who our business is, just really our mission driven on providing, obviously, we're an organization for all, but definitely having a focus on, yes, those minority women that are coming in that are really having struggles with, funding, business plan, whatever it is, the education behind, and the business behind what they're trying to really scale. How do you help support that? And so for me, I'm always talking about unrepresented areas and just being unrepresented as an individual, as a minority. So it all just ties in for us.
And then in regards to the fashion world, it's changing. People are again using, and I want to sit there and like using in a good and a bad way, using women, minorities, et cetera, in all their marketing, in all of their push to get gain more traction. So how do you educate a business in that realm? Because you're educating them on the way it was, in the way it is right now, or the way it should be in the future. How are you educating individuals?
So glad that you asked me. I'm so glad that you asked.
These are low, for me, these are low hanging fruit questions.
Exactly. Yes. Oh no, absolutely. I'm so glad you asked me this, because there have been two major organizations, and I'm not going to name who they are, but I personally counsel them, and I personally are their liaison for this exact topic, because they literally reached out to our organization, and I took this on as a personal mission for them. And we do provide this for other organizations that may want to reach out to us, but it's very important to have someone that is a minority in your business. So whether that be a part of your board, whether that be a part of your corporate, role, or whatever it is, you can't have a room and make decisions about minority people without having a minority in the room. And so I feel like a lot of brands and businesses have made that mistake in the past. And so a lot of them are trying to correct that now. And just because, the Black Lives Matter movement, there's a lot of things that have pushed brands and major companies to be like, okay, wait, we've been doing things wrong here. Let's try to fix this. And I feel like it is, a lot of it is a trend. I feel like it's something that should have happened a long time ago. And I feel like it's something that should continue to happen, but it's very important when I work with these major organizations to say, okay, what are your intentions? What are you looking to really put out there? What is your messaging? How are you trying to get this across? They literally asked me the most personal, questions that they can. And I really give them my honest feedback.
And the thing is, as they should, because I always tell people, I go, if you want a question answered, ask me. I'm not afraid, and I will not get mad, because
I won't.
Because literally, I become a dangerous 10-year-old at any given time anyway. With anyone, I will go up to you. I will ask you the question. I've asked the most inappropriate questions. I go, inappropriate, yes, but guess what? I'd rather ask you than talk behind your back.
Exactly. And they say that to me. They're literally like, before they say something, they'll say, and I don't want to offend you. I said, leave that out. Like, you're not going to offend me. This is why I'm here. This is why you have me here at this seat. And as your counsel, like, ask me anything. And so they now have gotten past the point where they feel like they're embarrassed to ask these questions. But I feel like a lot of organizations don't really know how to tackle that, or how to really deal with that. And it doesn't have to be fashion.
I think that before they ask those questions, we need to put them in the room. And I grew up with Maude, Benny Hill, Archie Bunker, we'll call it Fred Sanford. I grew up with people that had zero filter. And that was in the 70s. I go 70s, 80s. I go where these shows existed because it needed to be discussed, and everyone is walking on eggshells. And so now when when now people want to ask questions, they're like, I go, I'm afraid. I'm like, oh, don't be afraid, because if you don't ask, you'll never know.
Exactly. Yes. And then that's what puts you in the position of a lot of other organizations that have been put in the hot seat for doing certain things. And I'm not going to name those specific things, but there have been certain things.
There's a lot of things that we've seen. He said, you don't have to name them because we've seen them.
Yeah. And I'm like, why don't you guys just get someone that is a minority that can help you, with this campaign, or it's just so easy. It's very easy. And I feel like a lot of organizations now are realizing that, and, they're reaching out and they're creating these pockets of change for minority businesses and, ways that we can now be a part, because before we couldn't be a part. Like it wasn't really an option unless you knew somebody. You had to really know someone to get in and to be a part of that. And so now I feel like it's an amazing thing that is trickling down to a lot of big organizations that are saying, okay, we need to look at this different. There needs to be diversity. There needs to be plus size. There needs to be, there needs to be a representation of what Black women look like, what Black men look, there needs to be that. And so, and not just fashion, any industry, like it just needs to be there. And so we definitely do that as well, and provide that for organizations, and we're a counsel for them as far as that aspect. So that's something that we just started during COVID. So it was funny that you asked that question, because we have very uncomfortable conversations, and I'm just very upfront. I'm very honest. Like, I don't hold back when I have something to say, especially when it comes to being a minority and how we see things and how we are viewed and how we look at things and how we perceive, like just all these things. I'm very upfront about it. And so, but
the thing is, it's a benefit, and it helps them grow. It helps them grow. Exactly. And I think that's one of the things that people forget, where if you, the second you ask a question, you are fueling your database. And because of that, when you're making a decision, or when everyone's at the table, you're like, I go, oh, but of course I should know that, and things like that.
Exactly.
So I think that's one of those moments where you don't grow if you don't ask.
Exactly.
Simple. Simple. I mean, think about when you're in school, and I go, and there's always that kid that always raises your hand, and you're like, I go, they're my MBA program. I'm going to say it, Gary Manoff. Gary would raise his hands all the time, and we're like, oh my God, Gary, we're in an MBA program.
Oh my God.
But don't you know, Gary would ask, because all of us were like, oh, right, that's a good answer.
Right.
So yay to Gary, yay to every single kid that raises their hands all the time. And so sorry for everyone that just gets so annoyed. But you know what? They are fueling their database, and I would like keep up where they are, because you may want to work for them.
And smart people ask questions.
Smart people ask questions.
Like I literally say to my clients, I say to the organizations that we work with, the small businesses, everyone that we support, I'm like, ask me any question, ask us any question. No question is stupid. Don't feel like, because I do feel like too, a lot of women in business, and I feel like more women than men, I feel like when we go to a boardroom or in a very important space, we don't want to really put ourselves out there and look like we don't know what we're talking about, or look like we don't know what we're doing. And so I feel like we really create that space for entrepreneurs, and especially for women, where they can feel like they can literally ask anything, they can say anything. It's a conversation. Everyone's a human being. Like, no, nothing is off limits. And so I feel like that's a very important part to have as a business, and just as running a business and being a part of a program as well.
I have been in situations where I can watch the man. I go, I'm so sorry, guys out there, but I'm going to call out. I can watch the man literally like talking to, there's like a bunch of people talking. We're at an event, conference, cocktail party, whatever. And they're choosing to use specific words to talk down to the person. So they're using these big words. And I've been in situations where I'm like, hey, so you just used a big word. What's that? What does that mean? And they look at me and they pause, and everyone's like looking at me. I'm like, I go, have no idea what you're saying. So I allow it once, then you do it again. Okay. You do it again. And I'll call you out again. And I'm like, you know what? The third time you do it, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go to the bar, because you are talking at us, not with us. So I'm going to go to the bar. Can I get you a drink? I'll be back. And everyone's like, ooh. I'm like, you don't want to hear us. You don't want us to learn from you. You are just talking to hear your own voice. And that's not okay. I'm not trying to be a jerk, but at the end of the day, I want to be here in your presence to learn, and you don't want to teach.
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely.
And so sometimes it doesn't go well.
Right. I can imagine sometimes it
doesn't go well. But you know what? Most times, literally 99.9% of the time, they apologize. They're like, I'm so sorry, because they realize, because they look around, they're like, and they could see on people's faces like, oh my God, thank God she said something, because we have no idea what that person is saying.
Yeah, they had no idea.
And now a message from our sponsor. Since 2017, the Foundation for Business Equity has existed to support Black and Latinx-led companies in reaching their full potential by providing access to critical growth tools that include expanded networks, capital, and markets. To learn more about the Foundation for Business Equity, FBE, visit fbequity.org.
You have no idea.
They had no idea. And I had, there were so many gems that I took from, so Tommy Hilfiger was a part of our first virtual event, and it was such an honor to interview him and his wife. And I was literally so nervous. I was so nervous. After speaking with him though, for even 2 minutes, I was like, oh my God, like he is the coolest down to earth person. It was just like, I wasn't expecting that at all. And so he just dropped so many gems in that interview and conversation that he was literally like, he was like, I didn't know what I was doing in my business. Like I literally faked it until I made it. Like I was horrible at school. I was never good at school. I was never good at this, never good at that. He was like, I just had a passion and I just like would go with it. And like, it was just so incredible to see someone at his level and how he even like processes things even now and how he runs his business. And it was just such amazing to learn. It was just so amazing to learn from him and to see how he is really able to capture, you know, his flaws and like turn it into strengths and all of those things. And I feel like as entrepreneurs, that's what we do all the time. Like something that's a strength, you know, we'll go with that, but something that we know that we may need some support or help on, we'll, you know, outsource or do whatever, but you just do whatever it takes to get to the next level. That's really what you do. So, and
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Okay. So see, this is what happens where
I know.
We're gonna do part two. Well, we're gonna
we need to do part two
because well, clearly, I mean, you already know. You already know that. I mean, and I'm gonna call you out. I asked Taneshiya at the very beginning of the pandemic, "You want to go to the podcast?" At the very beginning, I asked you, and you're like, "Go," and you were like, and you just kind of ghosted me, and I'm like, I go, "All right,
you know what?
I know why, but now I know
that
why.
Was why. That was
I know
why.
Now,
and there are still people in my family now that don't even know what I went through because I don't talk about it that much.
You told your sisters though.
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, like
my
cousins and like aunts, and I just don't talk about it. But yes, I didn't want to tell you that at the time because I was still processing everything and how to deal with everything. And so it was just a very heavy and dark time that I was trying to get through. And so, yes, that was the reason. That was literally the reason. And it was like, I can't even bring myself to talk or speak or deal.
Well, that's that meme that goes around. You don't know what other people are going through.
Yes, literally, because you never know. But when, you know, I have conversations now and I talk about it a lot more now, and I'm stronger to talk about it more now. Because if it would have been back then, I would have cried. I would have been like a mess. But I'm stronger now to talk about it. But you never know what someone is really going through. And so it's always like when you check in on somebody, like really check in and be sincere about like, how are you doing? Like literally since the pandemic, it's been a thing where like me and my board members were like, talk on the phone. We'll talk about personal conversation. Like, we literally check in with each other. And some of them know about like what's happened and things like that as well. And so I just feel like it's so important. We're all human. Yeah. We're all human and we all go through things. And sometimes you really don't know how to express what you're going through when you're going through something, because you don't know if someone will judge you. You don't know if, you know, how just someone's going to take it. And so, and that's pretty much what it is. But being your authentic self is really the most important thing. So
see, just like Tommy Hilfiger, you just like, I mean, I didn't even have to ask you specific questions because you were like, I'm going to sit there and say specific things and boom, boom, boom. You kept on hitting it, which is really, really amazing, which I adore you. I mean, I adore you. I adore
you. And you know that. Like,
I love how you
always adored you.
I mean, even when you hated me, you adored me. Which I love.
I never hated you. I never hated you. You were pushing me. You were pushing. But I never hated you. I appreciate it because my mom was the same way. So I was used to that. But it was just like, oh my God, again. Like, what is happening? What is happening?
I go, my mom is channeling me through Jodi. This is not right.
Like, what is going on? No, I never hated you. And I feel like everybody needs that though. Everybody does need that. So no, I appreciate that.
I even need that. I mean, I have people that do it to me and I'm like, and I get infuriated. Like, I mean, I'm like, I lose my mind and I'm like, what the hell?
Oh my God.
Oh my God. All right. So we're coming to the close of the conversation. And I always ask the same questions of everyone. This is how, no matter how many times we talk, and we're going to talk again, because like there's always going to be situations where I bring you back because there'll be things that happen in the media that is in your industry that why would I sit there and like go to anyone else but the people that are actually doing it?
Absolutely.
So let it be known, I will always come back to you. So yes, that's right. The news producer back. I mean, I'm back doing my thing. Yeah. But I always will end in the same exact way for everyone because we don't ask for ourselves, we ask for our businesses. So we're going to ask two things. So if you had a personal ask and a professional ask of anyone that's listening to you right now, what would be your personal ask and what would be your professional ask?
Personal ask my personal ask is to be patient and give me a minute because my emails are backed up. Be patient with me with reply because I have a lot on my plate. Personal ask, yes, it would be that, and it would be to really see the value in me as an individual and what I'm bringing to the table. Not just look at the color of my skin or, what I may not have done, or I haven't done enough of this or enough of that in order to work with, an organization. Just look at me as an individual, judge me on how I am and who I am. And that was personal. Okay. Professional ask would be to invest in Black badass women that are making change and impact, that are taking over the world in major ways, and that are not just, that are really trying to create a seat at the table for themselves and the women following behind them. And to really see the value in, Black businesses and organizations. And really taking a chance on them when it comes to funding. I feel like a lot of men, a lot of men get funding more than women and minority women and things like that. And it's like a big thing. And so when it comes to investors and things like that, open up your portfolios, open up your, world of possibilities and opportunities and see what these, not even just myself, like other organizations are doing to really create impact in their industries and beyond. Because that's definitely what I'm doing. And so absolutely. That was like, I didn't have anything planned for that. That was
yay! And this is why I asked you guys at the end of because I don't tell you in advance. And mind you, like, no. I mean, at this point, everyone could like listen to the podcast, but no one ever listens to the very end. It's always end. That's why I hit the end.
Right.
No, it is so important to like make sure that there's always an ask. And I always say, I will always end it this way because during the time that I talk to you, you never know what the ask will be. So your ask will always change depending on your day. So I could have asked you 2 weeks ago when like, but your ask 2 weeks ago isn't going to be the same thing as your ask for today. So
exactly. No, that's great. I definitely felt very unprepared. So thank you.
I love that. All right. So we need to see each other. You are a stone's throw away. So I would like to meet the newest member of your family. Yes, and more so as I play with the baby, you can sit there and tell me about how you're going to start writing the book.
Oh yeah.
Look at that. Did you see?
Yes. And the fact that you've done this before, so you know how to do this.
All right. You want to hear the fun part?
Yeah.
Six of them are coming out this year.
Wait, what? Jodi, seriously?
I'm sorry. What did I say? Like I use my pandemic time very wisely.
What? Are they children's books or?
2 of them, well, 3 of them, sorry. 3 of them are children's books, 3 of them. So three children's books, a marketing book, photography book, and a remedy book.
Are you kidding? Oh my God, this is amazing. Yeah. See, this is why, because I literally, everyone kept saying, you need to write a book. I'm like, I don't know how to write a book. Like,
oh no, seriously.
I don't know what to do.
No, seriously. Like I go, like, I mean, look, we're going to sit there and have this discussion. Because
Yeah,
no,
we
you know,
are.
well,
We
the thing
really
is, the good thing is that there's good and bad. So the books are going to be completed this year. You can't get the book until next year. We don't have paper, so
That's
printing,
fine. Oh, right.
yeah, printing is like the problem.
Yeah.
So yeah, books are
We're
going to be
almost at next year, by the way.
Yeah, so if people want ebooks and things like that, you can get anything electronic, but getting an actual book, because wood comes from here, but
Oh
the
my
paper is being shipped. Paper is being developed in other countries, and now the paper
Yeah.
is sitting on these big tankers waiting for.
Yes.
Oh yeah,
Jodi, that is incredible. You never cease to amaze me. You're always working on so many incredible projects and everything. Like you've always been such a huge inspiration for me.
You know, and that's where, same thing with your mother, and like I go and how she molded you and stuff like that. Same thing with like my father's like, if we come to this country, why would you not take every single opportunity that comes your way?
Yes. Yes.
And so my parents
So
instilled that in me. And so when people are like, you do too much, I go, you do too little.
Right. I love it.
I know, and I say that without missing a beat.
Yes.
And everyone's like, they're like, I'm like, I go, I'm sorry. I go, I mean, I'm here for a very limited, even if I live to 100, I'm here for a limited amount of time.
Exactly.
Why not enjoy?
Exactly.
Enjoy.
And that's how I am. That's exactly how I am. I'm like, yeah, this is something that I feel like would create value, impact, and I love it. And it's a passion. Like, why not? Like, why wouldn't I do it?
And,
So,
and again, I'm not going to poo-poo the people that sat on their couch and watched Tiger King. I'm not,
Right.
but.
Oh my God, but do better.
All right, my love. Thank you for being here. Thank you. And I will literally email you so that way we can, like, after Thanksgiving, we'll actually just like something, and we can sit there and sit down, stop and just talk.
Yeah, and if you don't reach out to me, I'm reaching out to you. I'm going to stalk you. So
you know what? You do say that, but you really don't. So
no, but I will.
I'm not even scared of you. I'm not even scared of that threat.
I'm so bad. Well, you notice that's why one of the asks was like, be patient, because literally, like I'm just always juggling so much stuff, and
I'm the baby whisperer. I am like, I literally like, I will go, any of my friends that have kids, I'm like, I am the baby whisperer. So.
Oh my God.
Don't bring all three of them though. I don't know if I can do that.
Yeah, no, I won't bring all three, because it will definitely be.
Bring one. I go and we'll
bring one.
Or leave the baby. Like, you can bring one child at a time, but not 2 or 3 at the same time. Too much.
Yeah, I'll go easy on you.
Okay, good. All right, my love.
Thank you so much, Jodi.
Thank you. Talk to you soon.
Thank you. Okay, talk soon. Bye.
I've been so encouraged watching, and I know you have kids that are in their 20s, but watching women in their 20s and starting out their entrepreneurial paths, you know, whether it be post-college or not, or whatever they're doing, really help each other, you know, and even call and reach out to me to get that help. And I thought, wow, it's so great, because I remember that wasn't always a promised thing. You didn't know if you were going to reach out to someone and necessarily get that help from another female. So I completely relate to what you're saying, and I do think it's incredibly encouraging. Even Taneshia, you've done that with us just here in just starting in Boston and beyond. So
yes, yes, I resonate with that, because I'm the youngest of 4 girls. And my mom, you know, when she raised us, and just being brought up around so many women, I had so many amazing examples of what I wanted to be and how I wanted to, you know, run my business. My mom was an entrepreneur as well. My father was an entrepreneur, and they ran multiple businesses. And so for me, I had that very positive, you know, upbringing around creativity and entrepreneurship and all those things. And, you know, as you get older, you know, obviously branch out from your family and you meet different people, and that community of support typically isn't there as much. And so I had it with my family, but when you're, you know, being an entrepreneur and you're running your own business, there's so many things that come into play, and you really need support from others. And so I feel like we have definitely, like you said, Dee, have gotten better at that as a community of women and supporting each other. I know for myself personally, you know, and professionally, I loved surrounding myself with women and working with other women, having my whole advisory board as women, and, you know, just all of those things. So girl power.
I want to say one more thing. I think also in the past, I know personally speaking, I've been embarrassed to ask for help or advice. I think sometimes I feel like, you know, maybe it goes back to the way I'm raised, but sometimes I feel like, you know, it's like the child that is afraid to raise their hand in school. So I don't know.
I can relate to that.
not to be afraid to ask for help or advice. You're not going to look stupid. And I've had to actually overcome that myself. I think
Yes. Oh my God.
bad
Absolutely.
about yourself, or you feel like you don't have it together or have the answers if you seek advice or help. So I think that's something important to keep.
That is such a gem. Yes, that is like, oh my gosh, that is so amazing that you said that, because I have those feelings even within my own business and things that I do. I'm like, okay, if I ask for this, they might think that I don't know, or and everyone I feel like encounters those challenges. And so that is something that is definitely a gem for everyone to take home with them.
I think men like it when women in particular ask them for help, because they think that they could be giving and generous with even just their knowledge, maybe not necessarily writing a check, but being able to share their knowledge with them. I know when women ask me for advice, I view it as a compliment. And if I could share some of my experiences or just give them a word of advice, it doesn't cost me anything, but it makes them feel good and may be very helpful to them.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
I asked him for a lot of advice.
I asked her for a lot of advice.
Oh my goodness.
I'm asking her more and more every single day. What do you think of this? I just made her smell all of the new fragrances for Tommy and Tommy Girl.
Oh my God, that's so exciting.
That's so exciting.
So at the end of the day, I really don't care what I like. I care what she likes.